Every wedding photographer faces the same question. What gear do you actually need and what is just hype? Speedlights, strobes, wireless triggers and flash modifiers. The list is endless and it's expensive. But the truth is, great light doesn't come from owning everything. It comes from knowing what matters and mastering the few tools that actually do. This is Flash Equipment 101. What you really need and what is just overkill. Hello and welcome back to Light It Right, the ultimate 10-part wedding photography flash course. If you survived lesson 1 without blinding yourself or your dog whilst testing your flash in your living room, then congratulations, you're ready for part 2. Today we're talking about Flash Equipment 101, what you actually need and what's going to sit on the shelf gathering dust faster than your New Year's resolutions at a much higher price tag. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build your own wedding photography flash kit, know which modifiers make your light look absolutely delicious, and save yourself from buying that £600 light that promises to revolutionise your workflow but actually just acts as a coffee stand in between shots. So let's start it simple with Speedlights. These are your small, on-camera mounted flashes. They're portable, they're light, and they're perfect for wedding days when you're constantly on the move, from bridal prep to ceremonies to wedding receptions. I like to think of them as the Swiss Army knife of flashes. They're not the most powerful of tools, but chuck one in your bag, pop it on your camera when needed, point, shoot, and you can get yourself a decent quality of light with very little effort. If you're just starting out, get yourself a Speedlight first. Learn how to bounce the light, diffuse it, and aim it properly. If you can master that, you're going to be light years ahead of most beginner wedding photographers who are still pointing it straight at people's faces like it's 2007. Next up, we come to on-camera flashes. Now technically, your Speedlight is an on-camera flash, but using it on camera versus off camera are totally different worlds. On-camera bounce flash is great indoors when there's some nice white walls or white ceilings to throw it off of. Two good examples of this are either speeches or first dances. You bounce the light off of the wall or the ceiling and instantly it becomes a nice soft, well spread and even light. My one tip here would be just to avoid any coloured walls or coloured ceilings. Unless of course you want everybody in the room to look like they've just stepped out of a Smurf convention. Next up, we've got off-camera flash. Once you're comfortable with using your flash on camera, then off-camera flash is where the fun really begins. You'll get control, depth and creativity. Place your light behind the couple during the first dance, add some rim light during portraits, or blast it through an umbrella for that dreamy soft glow. It's like suddenly discovering that you're able to cook something other than toast. Moving on from off-camera flash, we've got strobes. These are big, beefy, chunky lights often used for portrait shoots or editorials. They've got loads of power, but they've also got loads of bulk. You're definitely not going to be wanting to drag a 5-kilogram strobe down a confetti run. If you shoot big style fashion portraits or high-end weddings that have a lot of setup time, then yeah, of course strobes make sense. But for most weddings, a couple of reliable Speedlights will do 90% of all of the work you need to do. So you've got your flash and now you need to shape your light. This is where your modifiers come in. Now, I like to think of them as seasoning. It's not something that makes a meal, but it's definitely something that can ruin it if you overdo it. First up, we've got softboxes. Now, softboxes are absolutely brilliant for portraits. They create that soft, flattering light with that nice fall off. I like to use a small octabox for my bride and groom portraits, or when doing those classy pre-ceremony shots. Now the downside to these is they can be a little bit big and a little bit bulky. And not only that, they do take a while to set up, which isn't ideal when the registrar needs to see the bride in a couple of minutes and you're still untangling softbox rods like tangled fishing lines. Next up, we've got the MagMod system. Now, if you want simplicity, then this MagMod system is absolutely genius. It's got magnets, clip-on gels, grids and diffusers, all without any Velcro and any bad language. They're compact, fast and wedding proof, and I use my MagMod accessories more than anything else. Yes, they are pricey, but they'll only make you cry once when you're handing over your credit card, as opposed to every single time you have to set something up with a flash. Now, if you're looking to keep it nice and simple, then umbrellas are like the old school kings. They're cheap, easy to use and provide great light. They're perfect for group shots outside and for portraits indoors when you've got the space. The downside is the obvious one. They do catch the wind like a sail. One tiny little gust and your light stand is off to Narnia. So you always need to sandbag your stands when you're doing things outside. Or you can use a groomsman to stand there and hold it if they owe you a favour. Last up, we've got bounce cards and diffusers. Bounce cards are absolutely brilliant when you're in a tight space or you can't bounce your flash off of the ceiling or the walls due to the colour. They can soften the light and they can fill in the shadows nicely. Pop one on your Speedlight and you'll instantly look more professional, or at least like you've watched 1 or 2 YouTube tutorials. Okay, so what do you actually need to make this all work without you losing your mind? Let's break it down. First up, we've got your flash triggers. These triggers tell your off-camera flashes how and when to fire. Think of them as remote controls for your lights. And here's a top tip for you. It sounds obvious, but make sure your triggers match your flash brand. A Nikon trigger on a Sony flash is like trying to use a PlayStation with an Xbox controller. It's just not happening. My favourite brand when it comes to flashes and triggers is Godox. Profoto and Yongnuo are also fantastic brands, but go with whichever one is going to suit your budget the best. Next up, we've got light stands. I would grab yourself at least 2 sturdy and reliable light stands. Yes, the cheap ones work, but they wobble like jelly, and one tiny little bump from someone's drunk uncle and they're over. If you do a lot of shooting outdoors, then I would recommend investing in weighted or air cushion stands because they really do make a difference. And believe me, you'll thank yourself the day that your £400 flash doesn't faceplant onto the gravel drive outside a wedding venue. Next up, we're going to move on to gels. Gels are basically little tiny bits of plastic that you put over the front of your flash. Use CTO gels when shooting indoors to match that tungsten light. That way, your subject isn't going to look like a ghost under a street lamp. You can also get creative with these gels. Blue gels for a nice cool rim light, or red gels for some dance floor drama. But just make me a promise that you're not going to go full disco mode during the ceremony. And the last one is huge, and that is make sure that you have plenty of spare batteries. Use good rechargeable batteries such as N-loops. Cheap ones die even faster than my motivation to carry on editing after midnight. That being said, a lot of the newer flashes do come with built-in rechargeable batteries, so you're covered there. And whilst we're on the subject of batteries, here's a tip, and that's to keep 1 or 2 battery banks fully charged in your bag just for emergencies. You never know when your wireless trigger or even your camera is going to need half an hour's charge and you've got no access to a plug. You don't want your flash dying halfway through the first dance, because trust me, that is the kind of darkness that no amount of exposure compensation is going to fix. Let's talk money, because believe it or not, you don't need to remortgage your house to get yourself started in off-camera flash. Keep it simple. 1 flash, 1 trigger, 1 light stand and 1 modifier, and you have your basic starter kit. You're ready to go. Once you've mastered that kit and you start getting bookings consistently, then you can look to upgrade. Pro gear does give you more reliability, faster recycle times on the flash, and better build quality. But it's not going to magically make your light better. That's you and your skill. I shot entire weddings on 2 very cheap Chinese Speedlights for years. And guess what? The clients absolutely love the photos. So just don't get sucked into gear FOMO. It's a thing, I know. If you've got £1,000 burning a hole in your pocket, then invest in some education or some backup equipment before getting those shiny new lights. Or just give it to me. Alright, so let's pull it all together. Here's what I'd actually recommend for a beginner to intermediate wedding flash kit. First up, you're going to want to grab yourself a couple of Speedlights. One as your main Speedlight and one as your backup, or one for each camera if you're rocking a 2-camera setup. Next up, you're going to want a wireless trigger. You're going to want to grab a couple of sturdy light stands, one softbox or MagMod modifier, some CTO gels, 4 sets of rechargeable batteries, either a battery case or a power bank to make sure you don't run out in an emergency. And if you want to, grab yourself an umbrella, which is brilliant for those group shots. That setup right there will handle 95% of all wedding scenarios. Indoors or outdoors, day or night. And the best part of all that is, it all fits into one really small case. So let's wrap it up with what you should now be able to do. You should be able to select your flash gear for your budget and skill level. You should be able to compare different types of flashes for weddings. You should understand the essential modifiers and accessories. And ultimately, you should be able to build your own wedding flash kit. If you've ticked all of those things off, then congratulations, because you're already light years ahead of where most wedding photographers start out with flash. Next up, in lesson 3, we're going to be diving into flash positioning and direction of light. And of course, how to use all of this gear that you've just selected to make people look amazing. As always, hit that like button if this video's helped. And hit the subscribe button if you want to keep leveling up your wedding photography flash game. And whilst you're there, why not drop me a comment and tell me your go-to wedding flash setup. Now, go and practice. And remember, it's not about the gear, it's about how you flash it. And I'll see you all in the next one.